Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Travel Talks Leicester, and a special welcome to our speaker this morning, Luisa Pizarro. And Luisa was recommended to us by Asifa, who did a talk on Gabon for us recently. They met in Saudi Arabia. This is where Luisa is speaking to us from this morning. And we have people joining us from all over the world, and we are looking forward to this very much. Welcome especially to those of you who are joining us on YouTube on our Travel Talks Leicester site there. So welcome, Luisa, and I'll hand over to you.
Hi, my name is Luisa, and I will be talking to you about Galicia, and I would really like for you guys to keep it a secret. I'm just kidding. You guys can share as much information as you want. So if you could, I know that the program wants you guys to donate if you have time to donate or if you have money to donate, but really, I would love for everybody that has watched the video or will watch the video to donate their time and money and effort to just keeping the rural life alive. And you'll see why after you watch the video. So enjoy. So I ended up in Galicia by chance, and I learned so much about this area. And there was just hidden treasures all over the place. So I went from Florida, and I just want to give a quick thanks to my mom and Michelle and Jody, who helped me with all the paperwork, all the visa paperwork. It was a little crazy, but I made it to Spain. Expected was to see the Spanish flag everywhere. But what really happened was this flag. And I won't get into politics or anything, but this flag was present in the area that I was in, but mostly I saw this flag. So everybody's familiar with Madrid. Everybody wants to live in Madrid. Everybody wants to live in Barcelona. People want to live in Sevilla. But with this program, I ended up in Galicia. And fortunately, it was fantastic. And just a quick, it's about 2.7 million, and Madrid has about 60 million, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a big, big difference. I expected to hear Spanish. Hermano, tú escuchar, soy hablas, habléis, partió más que tú. But what really happened was I heard this. Very, very different. Escuchar instead of escuchar. Falades instead of hablar. Very, very different. Very similar to Portuguese. But within Galicia, they have a different, each region has a different area, a different dialect as well, different sounds, different vocabulary. So it's understandable, but very, very different. And I took the opportunity to learn Portuguese in Galicia, in Lugo. And I made a big mistake because when you take Portuguese in Galicia, the languages are very similar. So what you can do in 1 year, they were doing in like 3 months. So I was trying to keep up with people that knew the language, but it's okay, it's okay. But anyways, I want to give credit to this website. That's where I took this information from. Okay, so it is a linguistic treasure because it is this medieval Portuguese or Galician that started off with, and then it broke into 2 parts. So it broke into the Galician that I was listening to in Galicia, and then it has the Portuguese from Europe, the Portuguese from Africa, and then the Portuguese from Brazil. Okay, so it is a linguistic treasure. And if you take the time to learn some of their sayings and some of the idioms, it is beautiful. It's fantastic. Okay. So I started my trip in Santiago de Compostela. Everybody in Santiago de Compostela knows the cathedral. There's the pilgrimage. There's the paths that come from France, from Portugal. And why would I do something that everybody else does? No, of course not, because the pilgrims are everywhere, and it is like a touristic site for the pilgrims. But once you're in Galicia, the pilgrims are there, but you don't really, I don't know, they kind of become part of the scenery. So that was that. That's Santiago de Compostela. It is a UNESCO heritage site. I only spent like a week or two there, and I ended up going to Lugo, and that's where the school that I was going to be working for was. And it's about an hour away from Santiago de Compostela. All right, so here's officially where my adventure begins in Galicia. Yes, question? Oh, sorry. Okay, so Lugo, the city. Guess what? Lugo also has a UNESCO World Heritage. They have a Roman wall, which is a really nice treasure. It goes around the downtown area. It's about 2 kilometers long. People use it for exercise. People use it for pictures. People use it for walking around. You can see the cathedral pretty much from any corner in Lugo. And as you look down, you can see the people running around, walking around. Cars exist, of course they exist, but most people are walking everywhere. It's a city kind of built for walking, which is fantastic. So the wall looks like this. It has been, many parts are still the original part of the walls, but the other many parts have just been restored. And it looks like this from the top. So it's really nice, a nice place to be. Okay, so in Lugo, they have this festival in June. And just really quickly, in Galicia, they have lots and lots of festivals. Each city or each town has something that they want to share from their culture, whether it's food, whether it's some dance, whether it's something historical. But in Lugo in particular, they have this called Ardelucus, and people dress up either as Romans or they dress up as Celts, and they pretend to have fights or they pretend to get together. From what I understood is that they pretty much lived in harmony, and that's why the city has the wall, and there's still history of both the Celts and the Romans. So depending on what side you want to be, because I guess one year they might be Romans, another year they might be Celts, but they invest a lot of money and a lot of time into the outfits. Like this is a really nice outfit. And then you have the Celts. And I did take this picture off online, so I'm giving credit to whoever it is. I'm sorry, I didn't find out exactly who it was, but they're elaborate. And there was a friend who actually went to Norway and got furs and original things to be able to dress up as a Celt. So it's nice to see. So these are the streets. If in the background, you can see one of the entrances to the wall. So you can't actually go everywhere through the wall. There's specific entrances, and everybody knows this entrance or that entrance. This is where you find this. This is where you find that. So normally the population is about 100,000. But during Ardelucus, it's about 500,000 people, and it looks like this. So it took 1 hour to get up here and just see the madness in Ardelucus. But it's lots and lots of fun. You meet lots and lots of people, and it's totally worth it. But there's also other fun things that they do around the city as well, different times of the year. Okay. Now, this one is a total treasure if you are a wine lover. In this particular moment, it's not happening. And honestly, I really don't remember what time of the year it happens, but what they do is this fountain, which is in the center of Lugo, they fill it with wine. So it just pours wine from this fountain. So it is a treasure. There it is. But wait, there's more. So if you order coffee in any of the bars or restaurants, if you order tea, if you order a beer, and please, if you're in Galicia, only order Estrella Galicia, and you order Fanta Limon or soda, any kind of soda, or you can have a mix, beer and the soda, which is called a clara, you get a tapa. And this is something that I believe is very, very exclusive to Galicia. So what people normally do is they go from one place and have a tapa, drink something there. Then they go to another place, have a tapa, drink something there. And the places are famous for their tapas. So you would say, oh, today I want to have like a seafood tapa. Let's go to this place. Or today I want the tortilla, the egg with potato. I want to go to this place. And you can just go tapa hopping all over the place. And it's always delicious. I don't think I ever had a bad tapa. All right, so here's what happened. I had to go with the flow. So the program that I was working for, they place you anywhere. And I said I could go anywhere. I could work with adults, I could work with children, I could work in a rural area, I could work in an urban area. And Lugo is technically, we can consider it an urban area. I mean, it does have lots of, the population is fairly big. But the school was going to have, I don't know, maybe 1,200 students. So the day before I was going to start working, there was a change. And I met with one of the teachers, and she told me, okay, so just prepare for 39. And I was like, okay, great. I'll prepare for 39 students per class, right? So 39 per students per class. And I was thinking, okay, so we can do this kind of conversation activities. We could do this with English. We could break them up in groups. But it turns out that where I was going, it was going to be 39 students total in the whole school. So here I am in Lugo, and I was going to be driving with other teachers for 40 minutes, about 4 times a week, to the school somewhere in the mountains. So imagine every day, almost practically every day, a road trip through the mountains, seeing this every day. So it was quite a treasure, and I never got bored of it because the weather was always different. Sometimes it was foggy, sometimes it was rainy, sometimes it was sunny. So just this every day in a drive and talking and chatting and just enjoying the scenery for 40 minutes, 50 minutes was fantastic. So this is where I ended up at the school in Navia de Suarna, and it happens to be the capital of Los Ancares. And when you Google Navia de Suarna, this is what you get. You get the bridge in this way. You get the bridge in this way. You get the bridge this way. And you get the bridge this way. So this is Navia de Suarna. So Navia de Suarna is this medieval bridge in just different forms and different aspects. So if you Google it, this is what you get. They have a castle as well. And the castle, it's falling apart a little bit, but they're trying to restore it. But of course, the rural areas are usually forgotten. But I hope that they can get it restored. And the area also has hiking trails. And this was very, very popular in this part. But they're not used as often as I would have liked. So you would get trails like this. So you would see a lovely house along the way. Then you would get a trail like this that suddenly just ends in the middle of nowhere and you can't continue. And you could get a trail like this by the river. And you could also find a trail like this. Just little treasures in every corner. And you would also get a paved trail that would head towards who knows where, but I would just be an adventurer and just start walking. And as we walked, you would find grapes that you could eat along the way. You could find fruit that you could eat along the way. You would find different things that you could just pick and eat along the way. Usually it wasn't like private property, so it was okay. And I would go with people that knew the area. And they would teach me what I could eat, what I couldn't eat, what I could pick, what I couldn't pick. So this part right here is one of the trails, and it heads to a little town called Barcia. And in this particular place, there's a guy who's renovating his whole house, and he's going to do like a remote teaching place or a remote business, like a remote business. So people can go enjoy the rural life, have internet access, and just bring some more life to the rural area. Okay. So we have places like this and during the walks. and they're eternal. Like you could just end up in a small town. You could walk for 4 hours easily. You could walk for 3 hours easily, and you would find places like this. And that's me. So sorry, those of you that haven't seen me yet, that's a picture of me. And you would also find like a water reserve, and you could basically go anywhere. There's just options of everything. Just you could see everything: nature, water, industry, but everything like that, I guess, at a small scale, except for the mountains. That's not a small scale. Okay. Now, as you walk, you could find history everywhere. So this is called a castro, and from my memory, it's basically where the Romans and the Celts would live together in harmony. And you would find these all over the place. So some of them are in great condition, and some of them are still hiding under the ground, and others have been trying to be restored. But what I like about Galicia is that when they find something historical, they try to preserve it and keep it. So it looks something like this. And this is literally in the middle of nowhere. We just walked and walked and walked and just found this. And yeah. Okay. So something that was fun to do. And I'm sorry, my memory is so bad, but I don't know what time of the year this was. But as you walk through, you would find either some animals like this, just gigantic, gigantic slug, or you would find fresh, ready to pick chestnuts. So it's a whole process when you pick up the chestnuts. You step on them, you take off that furry part that's kind of hard because you don't want to, it kind of hurts your hands. So you step on it, you open it up, and then you finally have the chestnut. And this was a treasure within itself because as long as it's not private property, you can take them. So we would have a harvest of our own. So as we're walking, pick up the chestnut, put it in a bag, pick up the chestnut, put it in a bag. And this was just maybe one trip that we took. So there's a process in the chestnuts. They must be dried. And I didn't do any of this. My friend Juana did all of this. She was an expert castaña maker. And we would roast them. And I also had them boiled. And I also had them with milk. And my suggestion is do not do all of these things in one sitting because the chestnuts have a lot of protein and a lot of, it's just a very heavy food. And I will tell you now, I will never have a chestnut again because I had so many, but it was delicious. So one of the advantages of being in the rural area is being able to have things very fresh. So here is a picture of something else that Juana did for me. And Conchi was another person that was with us. She brought fresh milk, and Juana boiled it, and she boiled it, and she boiled it. And then that top part, you take off, you add a little bit of sugar, and it's basically like this delicious butter cheese on bread. And so they have these little treasures of food that you just wouldn't know if somebody just didn't tell you or show you, but it was delicious. And I think I had this either before the castañas, before the chestnuts. So I think my stomach was just all over the place, but it was delicious. Okay. So in Galicia, one of the downfalls of Galicia is that the weather is unpredictable. So you could one day it be very sunny. And I guess that's maybe probably anywhere around the world except for Saudi because it's always sunny here. But it could be foggy, it could be sunny, all of a sudden it could be drizzle, all of a sudden it could be just a downpour, there could be hail. And from one moment to the next, boom, there's snow as you're driving up the mountain. And we just enjoyed every day we tried to do something outside in nature. And these gals were my partners in crime. The cows are, oh, I'm sorry, this one you can't see very well, but the cows are furrier. I'm used to like the black and white cows that have very little fur, but the ones in Galicia are a lot furrier. Okay, So these are some more places in Galicia. This is one of the trails as well. And another downfall is that the rural area, the population is dwindling. Many of the children, when they go to high school, they don't come back to the rural area. So the population of Navia is about 1,000, and it just, when a baby's born, it's like a holiday, and it just, I don't know, it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad to see that this area doesn't have people wanting to come back. But I don't know what it's looking like right now with COVID, if people are maybe socially distancing and coming out to the rural areas, and it might be nice. I don't know. Maybe there's a big change. So this is one of the families that kind of took me in Navia de Suarna, and the kids want to stay. They want to work the land. So they are a treasure for Galicia. And the family just works the land every way possible. They have honey, they have lettuce, they have livestock, they have, you name it, they have it. And those kids in particular really, really appreciate and know what they have. And they're all ages, from 3 years old to 16 years old, and they still want to live there and be there. And that doesn't happen very often. Okay. And this is where they invited me, and I got to participate in some real rural life. So I just want to say thank you to all of these teachers, because these were the teachers that I worked for and with. And I just want to say thank you. Gracias, 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 or gracias, gracias, gracias. They were fantastic. I got to drive with them. They showed me places. They took me places. They told me about things. You can't imagine if it wasn't for them, my experience in Galicia would be nothing. So I learned a lot of Galician with them. I traveled with them 40 minutes a day. One of the teachers took me to ski for like an hour away, and just the conversation was fantastic. Okay, so I don't know if you have any questions up to this point.
Luisa, sorry,
Tell me.
I'm muting. That seems a lot of teachers for 39 students. That's
yes.
Quite a good
so one of them
ratio.
was for preschool. Yeah, it was. They still have to have these teachers because they had preschool. They still had elementary, and they also have the high school. And of course, like in high school, it's very specific. So one person teaches Galician, another person teaches history, another person teaches French. So they have to be there. So it's really, I guess, a treasure for them because of the amount of students. But it is a bit sad because you can see how the population just dwindles. So for example, this guy right here in the middle, the one right next to me, he's been at the school for a very, very long time, and he's seen how they had classrooms of 20 students, and now they had classrooms of like 4 students. So, but they have to keep the school open because it's not just students from that area. There's students that are coming from an hour away. So, and that's the closest school that they have. So they can't just close the school and say, okay, and you know what, we'll just send them to other places. No, they must maintain the school. So yes, it's a lot of teachers.
So the age range is like all through from 3-year-old to 18, is it? 19?
Yeah, about 16, maybe 15, 16, because then they go to another high school outside in another city. So this school in particular is what they're obligated to do. So if they wanted to finish there, they could finish there. But then if they want to continue their studies, they would go to another school in a bigger city. Yeah.
So do the children get on well together? I mean, there's 39 of them. I guess they all know each other really well and like a large family.
Exactly. It was like a large family. So I just spoke to the principal because I was asking him about what we were talking about, Trisha, and he sent me some pictures of what it looks like now for COVID. And sorry, I don't have a picture of this because I really didn't want to talk about the school because I don't know about showing pictures about the kids and whatnot. But the school itself, so when we would have lunch, It was just in the cafeteria, but everybody sat together. So it's all of them. You could see everybody eating, everybody was talking and chit-chatting. And now they have to have everything like blocked off. So like one little group on one side, one little group on the other side. And yes, it's like it is a family. They know each other very well. They know their temperaments. They know who's who does what, who likes this, who likes that, what allergies they have. And I didn't want to get into the actual food because that is a presentation within itself. The actual food in Galicia, that's a whole treasure that I was going to, but once I started, it was going to be like a 3-hour presentation. So that I will leave up to you guys if you want to head out to Galicia and try absolutely everything, because everything is so fresh and everything is big. Nothing, they don't give you just, even the tapas, you just imagine like it's maybe a finger size. No. The tapas are also like a tiny bowl. Everything is big. Everything is done so delicious, so well.
So somebody, Jenny, is asking, what was the teaching program you were on? Was it a year, and were the teachers from all over?
So yes, the program itself is conversation auxiliaries. So I was there specifically to help the students with listening to native English and speaking, helping them speak in native English. So, or speaking or just listening to natives. They have wonderful English teachers who have studied abroad and whatnot. But what they really wanted were natives, so that the kids could actually interact and just become better with English, because they have the academic part. Like they're very good at the academic part. And I guess something that's lacking in Spain would be, so like this is my theory, and I think I've talked about this with other people, but for example, movies, they're all translated. So they're all dubbed into either Galician or into Spanish. But like if you go to any other country, they'll have subtitles. So even if you're reading the subtitles, you're still listening, you're still hearing actual English. So that is something that I think is lacking in this area or in Spain in general. So what they did is they created this program. So there were lots and lots of auxiliaries, people that were sent to Spain, people that were sent to Madrid, to Sevilla, to Galicia, to all over Spain. And it was just, people really wanted to live in Madrid. And then they send you to Galicia, and it's like the complete opposite of what you expect Spain to be. So either you love it or you're just like, this is the worst. But I loved it. And that's why I kind of want to keep it a secret, because if you tell too many people, I don't know.
Everyone will go. Yeah.
So anyways, yes, so that's the program. The program was basically so that they could listen to English. So I just collaborated with this teacher right here, Miss Rosalia. And I collaborated with this teacher up here, Alberto, and this guy's Alberto too. And I did do some PE classes. I participated in some of the French classes. I participated all over the place. I tried my best so that they could hear as much English as possible. And I was there in the classes. I taught a little bit, lots and lots of conversation, trying to get them to speak. And no, they were fantastic. They were fantastic kids. And I just don't try to help the students, also with the teachers. So in the teachers' lounge, of course, they would be speaking in Galician. And I would usually respond in English or in Spanish. But if the teacher really wanted to practice their English, that was me.
Yeah, so that's a bit, that I know you can feel a bit out of things if people are speaking a language you can't understand. So, but I mean, the lessons, do they actually teach, what's the medium, what's the language used for teaching the subject?
Okay, so they teach like biology, chemistry, everything else is taught in Galician. And
right.
All Galician. And then they have a Spanish class, Castellano. They actually have a Spanish class. And I think So Galicia has a history, well, all of Spain has the history with the dictatorship. So I think Galician was something that was frowned upon.
Yeah.
And so now there's a resurgence, or there has been a resurgence of Galego. So I can tell you a quick story. We went to London. The school had the opportunity to take the kids to London. And I went, and we were going to go into a restaurant. And the guy, you know how they try to get you, oh, come here, you'll enjoy this, you'll enjoy this. So he heard them and he's like, oh, you guys are from Spain, oh, you guys are Spanish. And literally every single child and teacher said, Españoles, no, Galegos. So they said, nope, we are Galician, we are from Galicia. And it was cute, it was nice. I was like, there's a lot of pride in the Galician way.
Mm. Yeah, it's a bit like the story of Wales, I suppose, isn't it, in the UK?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I mean, can they go right through university level education in Galicia?
Yes, they do. Yes, and they're both official languages. So Galician and Spanish. So they master both, and they're working on the English, and most of them do master the English, and they do have very inexpensive courses for many languages: Chinese, French, Russian. And that's how I ended up taking the Portuguese class, because I was like, okay, so if I don't learn Galician, I'm learning Galician as I'm interacting, but I want to take this course in Portuguese, it might help me. But there's just options. There's just options to learn many languages in a very cheap way.
Fascinating. Thank you very much for
thank you guys.
There was another comment here about did you say they speak Portuguese when you showed the flag?
No, they speak Galician. Okay, so there's some people that believe that Galician is just Portuguese without the nasal, and others say that it is a completely different language, maybe just coming from the same language. But it's Galician. It's an official language. Did I answer the question? I think.
Yes, I think so. that was from Smita. Yeah, she posed that one.
And it sounds nice. Yeah, it's a nice language. And if you ask somebody to translate their sayings, like what they, I wish I could remember some of them, but there's just a lot of sayings. And when you translate them, they're like, oh, that is so sweet. That is just so endearing.
Tricia, can I ask a question, please? It's Janet.
Yeah, go ahead, Janet.
Yeah. Have I understood correctly? I'm ever so sorry, but I thought initially you went out with 4 teachers to the school with 39 pupils, and yet we're seeing all these teachers here. And I'm sorry, I'm probably missed something, but could you explain?
Oh, definitely. So so my first year, because I stayed there for 2 years. So my first year I lived in Lugo. And one of the conditions of being an auxiliary is that the school has to provide transportation, especially to the rural areas, because that's kind of another downfall that Galicia has. The transportation system is not the best. You can't just say like, oh, today I want to take the bus to Navia de Suarna. There's a specific route. It leaves at 6 o'clock in the morning and it comes back at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's it. Those are your options. So the teachers, this one in particular, Ivan right here, Margarita, Rosalia, Maria, they lived in Lugo. So what they would do is every morning they would pick me up at a spot and then we would drive together to the school. So that's why I would say like these guys in particular were the ones. For example, she lived very close to the school. She actually lives very far away from the school. So she ended up having to get an apartment at like right in the town. He also had to get an apartment right in the town. So it just depends on the teacher and where they're from. And there's a system. if I could explain it quickly, there's a system. So you could be placed at a school, and that is your permanent position, and no problem. You stay at that school, that's your school. But there's other teachers that don't have a permanent position. So what they need to do is that each year they get placed somewhere. It could be anywhere. It could be 100 kilometers away, or it could be 5 kilometers away from where you live. So, so that's why there's a variety of where they live and who would take me and who wouldn't take me. I hope that answers your question. Like I said, I had the opportunity to live in Lugo, the city. And then the second year, I had the opportunity to actually live in Navia de Suarna, in the small town. And just to give you an idea, it says 1,000 is the population, but really in the town of Navia de Suarna, I would say maybe 200 to 300 people, maybe even less if it's not the summertime. So what gave me the opportunity by living in Navia was to visit all of these areas going this way, more into the mountains. And it's called the area of Los Ancares. So, Os. Well, it's Los Ancares in Spanish and Os Ancares in Galician. So I'm just trying to keep the honor of Galician. So in Navia de Suarna, actually, in every single town or every single city, there is some sort of festival, whether it's something related to food or whether it's something related to dance or whether it's something related to something traditional, there is something that is done. So Navia de Suarna is famous for their androja. And androja is like, it looks, oh wait, I don't have the picture there, but it's like a sausage, some sort of sausage, and it's spicy, and it's made in Navia de Suarna, and it has its own special flavor, and they use parts and pieces that aren't normally used in other areas. So it's very, very specific to Navia de Suarna. So they have this whole festival, and thousands of people come to this small town, and it's just really nice. It just keeps things alive. So because I think I had mentioned that it's like the Celtic area. So the bagpipe and this kind of music is very popular. I personally don't like it, but it was all over the place in Galicia. So maybe this was just one part that I did not enjoy very much. But they keep the traditions alive. So bagpiping, this kind of music, and the traditional dance is there. Oh, this is the androja. So this is what it looks like. And I know that I don't want to get too much into food because the food was fantastic, but they have this, the green stuff that looks like spinach. It's called grelos. I don't know, maybe it's like collard greens or something, but it's very specific to Galicia as well. And it has a great flavor. It's prepared in many different ways. But the androja, that was the star of the show in Navia de Suarna. And the festival kind of looks like this. And most of the festivals look like this. Because it normally rains in Galicia, they have these big tents that they set up just to make sure that people are safe and warm. And there's always bread. And the bread is spectacular. The crust is always perfect. The inside is always soft. And you know when it's a bad bread. But in Galicia, I don't think I ever had any bad bread. So there's bread, there's wine, and then whatever they are celebrating. So in this case, it was the androja. And as you can see, it was kind of a rainy day. Everybody's underneath the tent. And I'm sure that during COVID, this is not possible. But I'm sure they'll figure out something because they can't stop the androja festival. And if you notice in the background, there's the castle. This is the downtown area. And I had the opportunity to live basically 2 houses away from this area. So I got to see the mountains, I got to see the castles, I got to see nature every day, all day. Okay, so it looks something like this. All right, so the weather can change in a split second. Then you would see something like this. And then you get to travel around Los Ancares. That's another part that I think I had mentioned, the transportation. So as long as somebody has a car and they are willing and able to take you, because I was there on a student visa, so it was kind of difficult, to rent a car, get a car, do things like that. So because people are so giving and they're so, they just want to share, as much as they can. So you just take the opportunity and go places. So we went up to Los Ancares. This is the port of Los Ancares. It's 1,669 meters high. Down in Navia de Suarna, it's kind of a valley, and it was not cold. But here, the same day, lots and lots of snow, and you get to see these wonderful views, and you can get there in maybe 40 minutes or 30 minutes. It's winding and winding roads around the mountains, and it looks something like this from this angle. It was freezing. It was very, very cold. Okay, so something else that is in Los Ancares that's very not common, I don't want to use that word, very traditional, are these homes, these type of homes that are round, and they're called pajosas. And they are actually warm in the winter and cool in the summer, the way they're designed. I don't know why we just don't just keep doing things that work. But anyways, these were the pajosas, and they're all over the place. Some of them are very well restored. Some of them are very well taken care of. So they look kind of like this. And I believe, my memory is so bad, but this is somewhere up in Piornedo. That's one of the students, or two of the students actually lived in this town, and it takes an hour to get to the school. So imagine a 2-hour commute every day for school. But they were committed, And Piornedo, the population is very, very small. And basically, I think those were the only 2 kids that lived in that town. So when we went, it was very nice to see the kids and interact with the children. And we played ping pong. And well, anyways, it was really nice. This is inside. This is inside one of the pajosas. This one in particular is, I believe, a museum. So this one is very well preserved. They keep everything as original as possible. So you notice the floors, the tables, but I mean, these are things that are hundreds of years old. So they were well made. Like, these things are made to last, not like some of the furniture we have now. Okay. Up in the mountains, you would just randomly find a small church. No houses around, nothing around, but you would find the church, and you could just picture the people walking or taking the horse or something to the church, hours to get there and just meet and greet, right? This is another area, and I think Jose is going to kill me because I don't remember the name. And this is actually from one of the schools. So the schools would meet. So for example, you have a basketball tournament or a volleyball tournament or a ping pong tournament. So they want to keep, even though the numbers are very low, they still want to give the kids an opportunity to participate in things. So the schools would get together and meet in one of the schools, even if the school was an hour away from the other schools. So they would meet, and then they would have a tournament. And this is from one of the schools, and this is their view every day from that school. And it was fun. So the snow can reach this high, and you could also have days like this, where it is nice and cool, still having to wear a jacket. And when I went to Galicia, I assumed that it wasn't going to be very cold, but I ended up having to get a jacket for the winter. I was like, no, I'll be fine. I lived in Chicago. This is nothing. No. Jacket, scarf, and mittens was necessary. Okay. You would find these little treasures around the hikes and the walks in Los Ancares. So the background, something that's completely surreal, and then you find this piece of history that you know that was used over and over and over to work the land. And just like, I liked these kinds of things. Okay. And then you would just randomly find a lovely hairy furry cow just staring at you saying like, what are you doing in my space? But they were still welcoming. All right, and this is some more views of Los Ancares. And many people in Galicia have never even been to Los Ancares, but people that do know about it are intrigued by the fauna, they're intrigued by the weather, they're intrigued by what, I guess, hidden things are in the Ancares. I did go to a talk of a guy, and I don't remember where he was from, but I'm going to say maybe England. And he was studying wolves. The wolves, I really never saw any animals except for wild boar, or heard them, more like that, heard the wild boar. but he would study the wolves in this area. And so you would learn about all these trails and all these possibilities of going to explore. But it's territory that's still very, very unexplored. So anyways, but I got to explore it. And Jose actually was an expert. One of the teachers was an expert, and I wanted to go every day to go explore something. And so I would ask him, I was like, oh, where could I go? Where could I go? Where could I go? And he was the first one to say, you can't go today because the weather or the wind or the fog or something, you won't be able to go. So don't go today. Don't go today. So I finally got to go one day, and this is what I got to see. But if you notice this ice up here, it was snow, it was complete ice. So we couldn't get around this area. And in one split second, it got foggy, and then we couldn't find our way back. So it was quite an experience. So you really have to go with people that know. So maybe Los Ancares is unpredictable. So maybe that's why it hasn't been such a huge tourist attraction. Okay, so next part. Then from the mountains, because Galicia isn't just mountains, that's the area of Lugo, I got the chance to go to the coast and be in the coast for a while. And you are not going to imagine the difference of the same Galicia, but it's a huge difference. So A Coruña has 1.1 million, a difference of millions from Navia de Suarda. And Coruña is famous for its tower, this lighthouse called the lighthouse Torre de Hércules, the Hercules Tower, I think it would be direct. And it is also a World Heritage Site. So there's World Heritage Sites all over the place because everything is so historical. All right, A Coruña. So instead of La Coruña, A Coruña. So we have here the Paseo Marítimo, which is the longest promenade in Spain, and it is 15 kilometers long. Did I get a chance to walk it? Yes. Did I do it in one day? Yes. Did I suffer? Yes. But it was beautiful because you get to see things like this. The marina, you get to see things like this. The ocean is like right there. You see some cliffs, you see people, you see the buildings. You get to see beaches right there. So it looks like the sand is something pleasant in this part, but it's not. It's very, very rocky. It's not very pleasant. But in the summertime, it is full and full and full of people. Okay, this is also part of the promenade. Okay, so there's a cruise ship in the background. So there are cruise ships that dock in A Coruña. And you get things like this, like just random art. And then in the background, you have the famous Torre de Hércules, the lighthouse in the background, which is just very significant for A Coruña. And then you get some artwork like this as well, which was made out of glass. And there was two. They're called obelisks. I'm not sure if that's the English, but obeliscos. And I made a big mistake one day of going to this obelisco to meet somebody instead of going to the other obelisco that is in downtown. I don't know why they don't have different names, but they just said the obelisco, we'll meet there. And I went to this one, and this one was, I guess, 8 kilometers away from the other one. And this is one view of the marina that you get to see from the promenade as well. And then you also get these kinds of beaches that are just little nooks hiding in between the promenade and the lighthouse. And then you have these special surprises. They aren't exactly labeled anywhere, but you kind of have to research it yourself. And if it is labeled somewhere, I didn't see it right away. But this is a compass rose that is right next to the Hercules Tower. And it is pretty impressive. And of course, I forgot the history already, but each of these circles, like each piece in the circle represents something Celtic, I would say, or the people that made Coruña. I'm so sorry about this history part. But it has a really cool history. And I know that they signify something. And right now, off the top of my head, I don't remember. But it is really, it's big, it's beautiful, and you can see my size. And as you can see, there's not many people there. So in the summertime, there's a lot more people, but in other times of the year, it's not because of the weather. So either it's too cold or it's too rainy, but I didn't care. Let's just go and explore. Okay. They also have a soccer stadium that's basically right by the promenade as well. So it's right by the ocean. And if you have very specific seats, you can actually see the ocean as you are watching the Deportivo game, Estadio Riazor. Okay. And they also have museums around the promenade. And this in particular was a children's museum and science museum. And on the outside, they had a famous artist called Botero. And I was really surprised because he's just there. And I didn't know that Botero also had some sculptures in Galicia as well. And you find things like this just randomly, a 1950s Cadillac, I think. And, oh, okay. So I know I wasn't going to get into food, but I have to get a little bit into food. So the year that I was there in Coruña, they had the first festival of Galician food mixed with modern food. And they had this festival, and they do it on the promenade, and it was called Sal, and it was fantastic because it was a mix of what Galicians do with their food with a touch of contemporary style and contemporary flavors. So really, really nice mix. They do this in the summer, and I think it's like a growing thing. So I think it's maybe 2 or 3 years now, and each year it just gets better. Music, food, drinks, and it's nice. It just brings people together and shares more of the culture. And then here is also part of the promenade. And if I am saying this incorrectly, I think it's part of the promenade. It just goes up the hill on the other side. I hope I'm doing that correctly. But there was like an artillery, I hope I'm saying that right, space in Coruña. So if you look at the tower and then you look directly across from the ocean, you'll see this artillery thing. So there's cannons, and there's like little caves, and there's things for children and people just to do. And of course I climbed on it, but I'm for peace. So I'm glad this is no longer in use. And I really don't know what they were protecting. I'm so sorry. I don't know what they were protecting, but it was interesting. And the other treasure is that in A Coruña, and I'm assuming in almost all of the coastal areas, the sunsets are fantastic. So if you are willing to wait for the temperature to dip a little and watch the sunset, totally, totally worth it. Along the promenade, they have an aquarium, and you can watch them feed the seals, and it's right on the ocean. So I don't have a picture of that, I forgot, but it's right on the ocean. So everything that you do, you can just see the waves crashing against the rocks. And also the ocean is very unpredictable. So one day the waves can just be nice and there's harmony, and then the next day it could be waves that reach the shore and are hitting almost the buildings, and they tell people don't go out. But hey, it's your choice. And then you also have, okay, this is part of the aquarium, and then they also have museums. And I will be honest with you, I really don't remember which museum this was, if this was in Lugo or if this was in A Coruña. But you find these little places and they're not advertised. I think that's something that's missing as well. They're not advertised, and you just have to kind of like, oh, let's go in here. And then you find like these kinds of artwork and things, okay? They also have I'm gonna say a castle. Oh no. Okay, please forgive me. But they have this in A Coruña too. It's on the promenade as well. And from what I understood and I remember is that this is where they would send people that had leprosy. And it's like a fort, but now it's connected. Now it's actually connected, so you can actually go in, and it's become a museum, and you can see some historical things there. And it's just a really nice view of the city from one angle, and it has this other history of leprosy. So I hope I'm getting that correct. All right, so bye, Coruña. See you soon. All right, so now we get to go from Coruña, and this is what is another treasure of Galicia, is that anywhere you go, nothing is far. Like it could take 30 minutes to get somewhere, or it could take 20 minutes to get somewhere. If you're in Lugo, 1 hour north, you get to be in the ocean. If you go 1 hour to the other side, you get to be in the mountains. So Galicia, or if you want to go to a big city, you can go to Santiago Compostela, which is an hour. Everything's like an hour or 30 minutes away. So I got the chance to just go all over the place. But in this talk, I will not go down south, like to Pontevedra. I won't go down to Vigo because they have a lot. There's so much information as well, and beautiful, beautiful islands and places and ports and everything. But also another little secret is that Galicia borders Portugal. So you basically go plunk, plunk, go down to Portugal, and you're just in another country, and they're equally as welcoming, and it's a beautiful country as well. So gosh, Galicia just has it all. All right, so one place that I got to go to was Viveiro and around Viveiro. So this is the road to Viveiro. While you're in Galicia, any road trip that you take, you are going to see lots and lots of windmills. And it's actually very pleasing to the eye because you're thinking like, oh, they're doing something sustainable. But when you get close to them, the sound is a little frightening. It's like, woof, woof. So I don't know about the communities that live around them, and I believe hopefully they don't put them very close to the communities. But it is an initiative that they're doing, and as you're on the road, you will always see a truck that's carrying one of the pieces, and they're huge. It's like 2 or 3 trucks just taking one of the pieces. Okay, and if you notice on the right-hand side, I've never seen this before, but there's horses, there's wild horses, and it's actually very dangerous, just like I guess a moose or a deer that's running across the road, but they actually put a picture of wild horses. So you have to be very careful. All right, so this is from Viveiro. They have a mirador that is a lookout point. So a lookout point, and just to get to the lookout point, it's curvy roads, kind of like the mountains. So Viveiro has it all. It has mountains, it has the ocean, it has a valley, it has lots and lots of bridges, and also they have a festival and thousands of people go. They have a concert, which is rock, like a rock concert, where millions of people end up going. And you just can't imagine like a historical town like this having all these rock bands showing up, like heavy metal and doing whatnot. So this is from the top part. And I'm sorry, some of these pictures are not blurry or blurry. Okay, so here, I really don't remember, but I know that they were wonderful surprises. They have to be around Galicia. They have to be kind of around Coruña, possibly in Lugo. So I do apologize because I don't remember the names, but I definitely wanted to share these things with you. So this is a small town, and I remember that the town kind of goes upwards. So in order to get down to the beach, you would take like little stairs, randomly go through like apartment buildings and get down to the ocean. And then from there, you go up and then you go back into the mountains, and you can have like a promenade, but the promenade is then dirt and grass and whatnot. So lots of things to explore. Another cruise ship from somewhere. Gosh, I know this place was really cool because they had a museum in the middle of the ocean, and you could see lots and lots of artwork from Brazil, artwork from Spain, and it's just in the middle of nowhere, and it's not advertised. Again, this is what I don't understand. It's not advertised. You just kind of randomly show up and you're like, wow, you have this too? Okay, and then you have these views, and this is somewhere close to Coruña, and if you notice, there's nobody there. It's safe to like sit on those rocks. Of course, I wouldn't go any lower, but it's the ocean, it's the salt water, it's craziness with the change in the waves. So I'm from Florida. Florida, the waves are mild. Here, they call it La Costa de Muerte, the coast of death, because the ocean is so unpredictable that anything could happen at any moment. Okay. Then you have these small towns that live off fishing. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of these in other areas. very calm. And these towns are the ones that you get to go to festivals at some point in the year, and they showcase whatever it is that those fishermen are catching. I never got the chance to taste something. There was something that I wanted to taste, and hopefully if you guys end up going, you guys get to taste it. They're called pesebres, and it's like a little worm. And I didn't take a picture of it, I'm sorry, but it's like a little shell in a worm, and you have to pick them off the rocks. So it's very dangerous, but they're very expensive because they're so dangerous. And I never got the chance to taste one, but I think this was the town where you could actually go and taste them. And more lighthouses. So there's lighthouses along the coast, and there's actual hikes that are touristy that you can actually start from one point and hike your way up to another lighthouse, hike your way up to another lighthouse, and then stops and whatnot to make it to the other lighthouses. This was somewhere, and I thought it was really cool. I don't remember where, but somebody said, "Oh, are you in Copenhagen?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm in Galicia." And this was some random plastic artwork, recycled something somewhere with a little bit of history in the back. And so maybe this was the museum that I saw in the middle of the ocean. So behind the trees is the ocean. And more cool things. And then more ports. And then these are lucky for you, I do remember. So, Ofusinho de Porco, it's another surprise, and this was very close to Viveiro. So in the newspaper, every once in a while, they would promote something touristy, something for people to go and do. And this was amazing. So you drive a little bit, then you have to walk maybe about 2 kilometers to finally reach this place. And it's just like this cliff that just randomly happens to be a treasure in Galicia. And do you have to have a car to get there? Yes. Do they do any type of trails there? I really don't know. But in the newspaper, this one came up and we ended up going. All right, then you have las playas de Catedrais. So these are the beaches, and they also have this as well in Galicia. So if you're lucky, you get to walk underneath. The water is low, it's low tide. And then again, it's unpredictable. So you have to know when to go and when not to go, because suddenly you're here, no problem, taking a picture, enjoying the holes in the rocks and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, there you go. The water is up to your neck and you are in danger. So people really have to investigate before they go, or at least go with a local or ask a local, is it a good time to go there? But this is another treasure because it's beautiful. Okay, the pictures really don't do it justice. And then, just to finish off, Betanzos was a city that I was so pleasantly surprised with. Okay, so this one I know. I found graffiti all over the place in this town, and I really, really enjoy graffiti. Oh, sorry, that was misplaced. Okay, so in Betanzos, there was a amusement park that was created, if I'm not mistaken, by a Frenchman and a British man, and they decided to, and they decided to make kind of like a mini Vegas maybe, or like a mini something, but it's been abandoned, completely abandoned, but you can still go in. It's a little dangerous because some things are falling apart, and I don't know why they haven't wanted to restore it, but you go in and you see crazy things like this. Okay, so like these clocks that represent the times. Then you see something representing China, and you can see these lions from the other side of the town. So when I said, oh, I want to go that way, let's go that way. And we just followed the big lion, and we ended up at this park. They have caves inside the park. And then, so here we start with the graffiti. You would just see it randomly everywhere, and you notice that they just don't graffiti over it, because that's what normally happens. Like somebody graffitis something, then somebody graffitis it over, and it's also like representing Galicia, and it's just everywhere. It was everywhere. It was just a pleasant surprise. Betanzos was nice. Okay, and then some newspaper tourism. So anyways, just to let you know, Betanzos is just a town very, very close to Coruña, and I wasn't expecting much from that town, but I was it was very lucky, very lucky. So in the newspaper, again, they do some tourism shots. So please go visit this or go and try this, or maybe they just want to promote something. So this one was the Fragas de Aume, and they have one part that's very popular, and it was full. It was full of people that day. So I just asked, is there another area? So we ended up going to a different area, and this one was the hike. But what was awesome about this natural park is that you get views like this. And these are the kind of views that you get down by Vigo or by Pontevedra, where they have wine vineyards all over the place. But this one is just completely untouched. So I don't know, I think it's even more beautiful. Although the ones down in Vigo as well. So you get things like this, and there's no trail. It's basically, when we asked, they said, just find the cows. When you get to the cows, go right. After you go right, then you're gonna see this little house. And then that house, you're actually gonna go left. So it was a nice surprise. So there were the cows, and I think we went left when we were supposed to actually go right, but it's okay. And then this was somewhere, but this is a waterfall that's in the middle of nowhere. And that's the tiny, tiny trail to get there. And again, it's unpredictable because the waterfall could be just a little drizzle. And then all of a sudden, poof, the water could reach to where I'm standing right there. And that's, I don't remember this part, but sorry. Oh, this was in the, no, I don't remember, but it was nice. It was a nice picture. And bye-bye for now, Galicia. And this was somewhere in Navia de Suarna, just taking a stroll, a daily stroll somewhere. All right, I'm done.